If you like what I do, consider joining my channel or donating to my coffee. Links in the description.
Okay, Constance, let's start with our warm-up, shall we?
Oh, well, it's been a minute, but I think it goes a little something like this.
Constance first caught my eye with its beautiful presentation. Its hand-drawn art style and amazing animation is enough to make anyone stop in their tracks in disbelief. This game looks absolutely gorgeous, and that's not up for debate. But beyond its visuals, Constance's trailers and promotional materials have consistently showcased fast-paced combat, intricate platforming, and a narrative set in a world that appears to mirror the protagonist's struggles with their mental health. Like she's created this inner world to help cope with her anxieties and fears. And that's exactly the setup. Something happens in the real world that sends Constance to a fantastical place, and now she has to find a way out. Just like Alice in Wonderland, but without satirizing all that newfangled Victorian math. Anyway, to say my interest was piqued is an understatement. But can this introspective journey live up to my lofty expectations, or is this adventure better left inside Constance's head?
Combat.
Constance's combat starts simple, but it's got a sweet hook you unlock later. Early on, our painterly heroine has a 3-hit ground combo and an aerial string with some satisfying hang time. And that's it. No blocks, no parries, no projectiles or subweapons. If Constance wants to beat your ass, it's gonna be up close and personal with her paintbrush. With such a stripped down moveset, nimbleness and positioning become crucial. Thankfully, Constance's movement is buttery smooth and her evasion maneuvers are a joy to use. Early in the game, you unlock a dodge that turns her into a blob of paint. Visually stunning and mechanically slick. It comes with iframes and doubles as your air dash, which also packs iframes. So, your best strategy early on, hit, dodge, repeat. Of course, as you progress, Constance unlocks more attacks, like a stab move that turns her brush into a spear, and the sweet hook I alluded to earlier, the paint stroke. It's hands down the coolest and most fun maneuver in the game. Essentially an air dash attack that only procs when enemies or objects are nearby, it's lightning quick and incredibly satisfying. Capping a 3-hit combo with this bad boy, exhilarating every single time. It deals damage, helps with positioning, makes flying enemies weep crimson tears, and it looks so freaking cool. Naturally, all this badassery comes with a cost. Constance's stab, paint stroke, and other moves require paint to use. And when the paint runs dry, you can still use them, but at a price. Enter corruption. One of the coolest mechanics in the game. Once depleted, paint-based moves consume HP instead. It's a brilliant risk-reward system that forces you to stay sharp. Dodging becomes a double-edged brushstroke, each evasive move nudging you closer to corruption, where every action could hurt. And it's not just mechanically clever, it's narratively powerful. One of Constance's core themes is burnout, and this system captures that beautifully. Push too hard, and you'll pay for it. So, if you want your paint back, you're gonna have to cool it every now and then. One of the boldest things Constance does is not include an Estus Flask type healing mechanic, nor does it use a Hollow Knight type focus healing mechanic. Instead, you heal by collecting hearts from breakable objects or from defeated enemies. There's an item you can buy that holds your excess hearts so you can heal yourself with the press of a button, given you fill the reserve tank up. And there are other methods of healing linked to the game's inspiration system, but more on that in the progression section. Constance also has an interesting death mechanic. No, it's not corpse running, thank God. Whenever Constance bites the bullet, you're given the narratively thematic option to persevere or return to the shrine, this game's save point. If you return to the shrine, you do just that and must endure the dreaded boss run back, which is never bad in this game because save stations are so close to the boss. But if you choose to persevere, you respawn in the room you died in, saving you precious time, but you also get afflicted with the Puppet's Curse, which gives enemies and bosses a buff that outlines them with energy or corruption. And this sucks, because this buff makes it so you can't dodge or paint stroke through enemies without taking damage. To lift the curse, simply rest at a save station. I loved the persevere option for its time-saving implications during exploration, but I wouldn't recommend it for bosses. Just do your tiny little boss run back so you can keep your iframes. You'll thank me later. Now, let's talk about those bosses. Before I dive into my personal take, let me be clear. The bosses in Constance are good. They're varied in design and approach, and they play to the game's strengths, requiring patience and cleverness to overcome. That said, I am not a patient or clever player, and many of these bosses fall into my least favorite category. The kind that unleash a long string of attacks before providing a brief opportunity to strike back. I'm not saying this type of boss is bad or they shouldn't exist. I'm saying I hate them, and the fewer you have in your game, the better. Again, this is just my take. Not all of Constance's bosses are like this, and several stood out as highlights, especially the final boss. That whole closing sequence, an incredible send-off and easily the best encounter in the game. That's it for combat. Constance's combat is a stylish blend of simplicity and depth, built around tight movement, satisfying brush-based attacks, and a brilliant risk-reward system that ties directly into its themes. While some bosses test your patience more than your reflexes, the overall combat experience is engaging, expressive, and a whole lot of fun.
Abilities, platforming.
Constance does that thing I love in Metroidvanias, where abilities pull double duty as combat tools and traversal mechanics. Take the brush spear, for example. Not only does it stab enemies, it also dispels corruption, those black electrified walls that block your path and spice up platforming sections. It even activates certain devices, making it a key part of puzzle solving. And that glorious paint stroke, it's both a lightning-fast attack and a traversal tool, letting you dash through enemies and interact with environmental objects to launch Constance to new heights. It easily takes home the trophies for most fun combat and movement ability. And of course, there are other techniques to unlock, like a plunging attack that damages enemies and lets Constance bounce off hazards, and the visually striking wall climb, which stands out from other Metroidvania's wall climbs and wall jumps. Much like her dodge, Constance transforms into a blob of paint that briefly climbs the wall before sliding down it. And that descent matters. She's invulnerable during that slide down, allowing her to pass through hazards unharmed. A nifty trick, indeed. As for platforming, it's peak. Constance's movement is buttery smooth, the animations are gorgeous, and the sequences it throws at you are deeply satisfying. The moment-to-moment traversal feels great, while the more demanding segments are inventive, challenging, and fun. Each biome introduces its own gimmick to keep things fresh and distinctive. Some of the best platforming moments come late in the game, so I won't spoil them here. Just know you'll be using your full repertoire, wall climbing, brush spearing, plunging, and brush stroking, to survive these late-game gauntlets. It's an absolute blast, and while the challenge is real, it's never rage-inducing, but if your grip starts slipping, maybe take a cue from Constance and take a break. That's it for this section. Constance's traversal and ability design are a masterclass in Metroidvania elegance. Fluid, expressive, creative, and, most importantly, fun. Every move feels purposeful, doubling as both a combat tool and a platforming solution, with late-game gauntlets that demand, and reward, full mastery. It's challenging, inventive, and always satisfying, with just enough grace to keep frustration at bay.
Progression.
On the Metroidvania spectrum, Constance is a Metroid-like with a Hollow Knight-style modification system. That's shorthand for no RPG elements like gear, leveling, or skill trees, but yes to equipable perks. This system is called Inspirations. You find inspirations while exploring and equip them on a grid-based sheet, kinda like playing Tetris. Each inspiration takes up a certain number of blocks, and your available space, your paper, can be expanded by finding erasers. You can also enhance inspirations by offering light stones to an NPC in the game's hub, Janky Junction. Janky Junction starts as a ghost town, but gradually fills with NPCs you find, including a lovable little guy and his mini cousins. He runs the game's main shop, where you can spend glitter on all sorts of goodies. The more cousins you find, the better his inventory gets. To wrap things up, you can also increase your HP and paint capacity by collecting hearts and paint flasks, 3 and 4 pieces each, respectively. That's it for progression. Constance's systems are simple, clean, and exploration-driven, favoring discovery over grinding. Toss in a light base building mechanic, and you've got a familiar, but undeniably charming, little setup.
Exploration.
Constance's exploration starts out textbook Metroidvania with a strict, beginner-friendly introduction, but its structure evolves dramatically as you progress. The first hour is tightly guided, but once it opens up, it really opens up, giving you access to every biome in the game. You'll hit plenty of ability gates along the way, but in most cases, the ability you need is tucked somewhere within the same biome that's blocking you, but more on that in a bit. Exploration is highly rewarding, packed with secrets and surprises, false walls, hidden passages, unlockable shortcuts, and a treasure trove of hearts, paint flasks, light stones, inspirations, and cousin finding. And the world is full of quirky NPCs eager to hand out side quests and add flavor to your journey. Full disclosure, when I first finished Constance, I only hit 69% completion, meaning I missed nearly a third of what the game had to offer. If you're not actively engaging with every aspect of the world and combing through its nooks and crannies, it's easy to overlook a ton of content. And honestly, that's one of the coolest things about Metroidvanias, when optional content feels like a genuine reward for curiosity. When it comes to the in-game map, it's easily one of Constance's weakest aspects. It's boxy, low on detail, and lacks customization, but it's serviceable, showing exits and general layout. For a game this beautiful, having such an anemic map is a bit jarring. You can't mark it up, but you can take snapshots, a feature I've seen popping up more in Metroidvanias lately, and I ain't even mad. Thankfully, there's a mini-map you can pull up on the fly, and that's always appreciated. I check my map constantly, so being able to glance at a mini-map without pausing keeps the game's flow intact. Mini-maps are my #1 must-have in every Metroidvania. As for fast travel, it's handled through an elevator system. 1 per biome, unlocked as you find them. It's limited, but it works thanks to Constance's compact world and smartly designed shortcuts. The last thing I want to touch on in Constance's exploration is backtracking. Thanks to its non-linear structure after the opening hour, backtracking is almost entirely reserved for optional content, side quests, item pickups, and completionist runs. Once every biome is open, the critical path becomes yours to explore at your own pace, making backtracking less of a feature and more of a personal choice. For example, I ran into a boss early on that was absolutely wrecking me, so I dipped and explored elsewhere, looping back later when I was better equipped. Another time, I stumbled into a new biome while exploring another biome and thought, well, might as well check this out, which led to me backtracking to the previous area much later. That kind of freedom is baked into the game's structure. What makes this exploratory ADD work is that each biome is self-contained. Ability gated, yes, but also designed to provide the tool you need to move forward. So if you want to complete a biome on your first visit, you can. And if you find ability gates that don't match the ability you just unlocked, they're probably hiding a shortcut, a collectible, or both. It's an interesting and smart structure that makes Constance's pacing feel snappier than most Metroidvanias. With almost no dead ends on the critical path, the game maintains a smooth, uninterrupted flow, and that's a rare and refreshing feat for the genre. That's it for exploration. Constance's exploration strikes a near-perfect balance between structure and freedom. It rewards curiosity without punishing detours, keeps the critical path fluid and frustration-free, and fills its world with meaningful secrets worth uncovering. Despite a few map-related hiccups, the game's smart biome design and optional backtracking make for a refreshingly smooth and satisfying Metroidvania loop. One that respects your time while still inviting you to get lost.
Atmosphere. Narrative.
I'll keep this section short and sweet. Constance's visuals do most of the talking. One look at this game and you know it's high quality. The art, the colors, the animation, the creativity, all top shelf stuff. As a silent protagonist, Constance is surprisingly expressive. Her muted conversations are punctuated by little emojis that pop up around her head. Clever, adorable, and surprisingly effective at conveying emotion. As for the music, it's pretty dang good. Most tracks are understated, doing their best to support the action and visuals without stealing the spotlight. But when it's time to shine, during boss fights or cutscenes, the soundtrack hits hard. Overall, the OST does an excellent job accentuating mood. Even silence is used to great effect during the game's more narrative-heavy moments, which I won't spoil here. They're better experienced than explained, and the devs did a great job simulating the events that shaped Constance's mental state. Concerning the game's tone and narrative, I don't think I'm spoiling anything by saying it touches on themes of mental health, specifically personal struggles around work-life balance, burnout, and purpose. It's clear that Constance is trapped in a fantastical world within her own mind, and that world, its biomes, NPCs, enemies, and bosses, represents the stressors she faces in real life. It's genuinely fun to piece things together yourself, observing characters and situations and asking, what could this be an allegory for? The symbolism isn't overly cryptic, but that's part of the charm. It reflects struggles that feel deeply familiar to the modern human condition. Now, I want to reassure you, Constance, despite its mature subject matter, is not a depressing or melancholy game. Yes, there are narrative moments that sharply contrast the whimsical world you'll spend 95% of your time in, but those tonal shifts are intentional. The game wants you to feel the stress Constance is experiencing, and in that regard, the devs did a fantastic job. Her struggles are very relatable. So yeah, if you're into beautiful, fanciful worlds with an undercurrent of darkness trying to pierce the veil and drag your character into oblivion, Constance's narrative might be exactly what you're looking for. Lastly, to my knowledge, Constance has only one ending, but it's a satisfying one that wraps up the journey in a direction you genuinely want to see our heroine go. That's it for this section. Constance's atmosphere and narrative strike a rare balance, whimsical on the surface, but layered with emotional depth and thematic resonance. From expressive visuals and mood-rich music to a quietly powerful story about burnout and purpose, the game invites you to feel, reflect, and explore. It's not just a journey through a beautiful world, it's a journey through a beautifully troubled mind, and one that ends with hope.
Final thoughts and score.
Constance is a stylish, emotionally resonant Metroidvania that blends expressive combat, inventive traversal, and a refreshingly smooth, non-linear exploration loop. Its painterly aesthetic and thematic depth elevate it beyond genre convention, while the mechanics stay tight, purposeful, and fun. The in-game map feels a bit too basic, and some boss fights test your patience more than your reflexes, but overall, the game is a genuine delight to play. I award Constance a 9 out of 10. As of November 24th, 2025, Constance will be available on PC and is slated for console release in the near future. I played Constance exclusively on the Steam Deck with 0 issues, and therefore give it a Steam Deck rating of verified.
Tear placement.
Constance earns its place among the genre's standouts, not just for its expressive mechanics and painterly aesthetic, but for how seamlessly it ties gameplay to theme. It's a Metroidvania with an interesting exploratory framework, its combat and platforming are exceptionally tight, and it delivers emotional resonance without sacrificing fun. While a few design quirks like the sparse map and boss pacing hold it back slightly, the overall experience is stylish, satisfying, and silky smooth. Constance takes a break in the B tier. Whether you're here for the brush-based brawling, the whimsical world building, or the quietly powerful narrative, this game delivers a highly memorable experience that's a Constance delight.